And I'm learning. Honestly, after all these years, I'm learning how to continue to work in television, how to continue to be part of an ensemble, how to continue to, this storyline is happening over here, and that storyline doesn't involve me. But if I'm the HNIC, why doesn't it involve me? Why are certain decisions being made where if I were really the HNIC, I'd be saying, wait a minute, we need to do X, Y, Z, but that's not what the storyline is. So it's a tightrope walk. Does that make sense?
Oh, a lot.
Go ahead.
I was going to say your career has spanned decades, of course. How have you seen?
You saying I'm old?
No. Well, you age well. I just turned 50, so I'm loving my age.
All right, go ahead. 50 is the new 30. Go ahead.
Yeah, right.
So how have you seen the film?
He's five.
What do you hear?
Okay.
Yes, go ahead.
So how have you seen the film and television industry change for African Americans from a business standpoint? And you as well.
I know you asked me the question, but I want Nyambi to answer it first.
Well, I'll say this. For me, over the last 20 years, almost 20 years since I first started, when I made the decision to be an actor, I've seen not only myself, I've seen my friends come up. And when I say my friends, I mean people that I knew all the way back to 2001. I remember seeing Chadwick Boseman at New Federal Theater, you know, and then looking up to him, being like, "Yo, you know, this guy is such." I wanted to do theater with Woody King, you know, because of the, you know, with that, you know, Woody King being like, "You should go to L.A." You know, and then I was like, "Oh, thank you," but then didn't do it. But then, you know, anyway, I wonder if I had made that decision, what my life would have been like anyway. But remembering Chadwick then, you know, working with you know, Danai Gurira being one of my closest friends. Since 2004, just seeing all of these different actors, Lupita since 2008, same with Winston Duke as well, where there was a time where it felt like it could only be a this or that. I feel like it's a yes and that yes and the sort of situation that's happening now, where I feel like I'm seeing more and more of us being showcased. I mean, I hope that it continues. You know, I hope that it's certainly there's certainly a lot of progress, but I'm hoping that it continues to progress. Because you know, brother trying to work. But yeah, but I would say that's the difference. I feel like it was always like, all right, that's the guy. You know, and then when it's no longer that, for some reason, in order for you to become the guy, that person had to be like
right. There was not space for two.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the case with actors. Or that was the case with actors. Certainly the case with directors. You know, like they'll say, "Oh, that's the black director." Right. You know, and where it's like, well, there should be space for all of us. You know what I mean? There should be space to be able to tell various different stories, because we're not one thing, you know. We're not a monolith. I'm trying to use big words. I'm a man here. All right.
That's $5.
Yeah, much, you know.
Using $5 words.
Yeah, we're all things. You know, we're all things, not just one. And so, I think we're starting to see that now. The tendency is to see an actor or see a director and say, "Oh, wow, that story is amazing. We got to get that person to do this one, or do that, whatever," and which is great for that individual. But then we should be able to say, "Oh, that person is great. We got to open it up and find more people like that." You know, because that's what.
And that's not quite the way it works for us.
Yeah.
Right. I really wanted Nyambi to answer your question first, because I wanted to get the perspective of a younger actor, and it was so interesting to hear him say certain things, but versus, well, there's X, Y, and Z, and that's your perspective. I think that the question, how have I seen the industry change? I started to use the term I started to say it's become, on some level, more inclusive. But I think we have these ebbs and flows, right? We have these rhythms in the industry, right? Many of you are probably too young to remember blaxploitation in the 70s, right? Now, the fact of the matter is that blaxploitation films saved Hollywood on many levels, saved the studio system in Hollywood because they were having a very hard time. And then it was discovered that they could make these films relatively inexpensively. And because we go to the movies and we support these things, they were making a killing, right? So when I say they saved the studios, that's what I mean. There were these huge influxes of cash because we were going to see these films. And one could be forgiven for thinking, you know, if you went back to the 70s, that this could be some kind of a renaissance, right? That did not happen. So in terms of the moment that we're in right now, I want, as you said, I want to see where we are in 5 or 10 years and what this time spawns in terms of any long-lasting, enduring change in the industry, how we are viewed in the industry, what kind of work we not only procure for ourselves, but the kind of work that we get to do. How does that fundamentally change the paradigm? And I think that it is too soon to tell. I want to say can I just say one other thing? And this is kind of a theoretical idea. And I'm trying to kind of articulate my thoughts as I'm thinking. The brother's name is Stephan James, the brother who was in If
The
Beale Street
Street,
Could Talk,
yeah,
right? So I saw that film, and I'll get to Chadwick in a second because Chadwick's, I think, a different kind of a proposition. But so arguably, you could say that his name is Stephan, right?
Yes,
I don't know if that's.
I think it's Stephan.
Stephan, right?
Yeah.
He does If Beale Street Could Talk,
Yeah.
and that kind of puts him on the map. That introduces him to audiences, movie-going audiences. To your point of, and I think he's a good actor based on what I saw.
Yeah.
Your point of, okay, here's this young man, Stephan. What else can we do for him? What else can we find for him? How do we develop and nurture him, right? The next thing I saw, and I did not see the film, but I saw something where he was doing a film with Julia Roberts. Okay, now I have not seen it, okay, and it may be a wonderful film, but the point I'm making is this, that here's a young man who makes an impact.
Right.
What happens to him is that the industry then comes and pairs him
Wow.
with a Julia Roberts.
Yeah, it's big. Yeah.
as compared to
Wow.
looking at who he is and nurturing something for himself, developing.
Right, yeah.
They pair him with. Now, I'm not saying that's wrong necessarily, but it's a certain manifestation of how the industry functions, and it speaks to the thing that you were saying
Yeah.
about, you know, young black talent and how is it nurtured, how is it not nurtured? Is it simply now you've arrived apparently, so now we'll give you a film with Julia Roberts?
Mm-hmm.
And that's not to be disparaging against Julia Roberts. I'm trying to speak about how the system works. And until those kinds of things are changed, and we have different kinds of paradigms, or we create different kinds of paradigms, I think the answer to your question, how has the industry changed, cannot be fully answered. Does that make sense?
And I think the biggest change or changes need to happen at the root. being
At the
as
fundamental,
far as
absolutely.
producers,
Talking
as far as the studio
paradigm
system,
change.
as far as that's really where that happens. And also with the way, I mean, the fact that everyone now could be a producer, everyone now can be a director. I mean, I can do it
On
right
the
now.
phone, yeah,
You do a
exactly,
movie, you want my movie, don't worry,
Yeah.
you could do that now. The fact that you can do that, like, there's people have more power to create, you know, but I don't think people know that, you know, because I know a lot of people who
Our people don't know that.
Our people, yeah,
Our
and I
people
know a
do
lot
not
of
know.
people who make a lot of money.
Mm-mm-mm.
That are people,
Mm.
just being like, you know what, bump all that. We're doing our own thing. We're shooting our own thing. We're shooting our own stuff. We have our
You speak that in
own.
Nollywood?
No, not Nollywood, man.
No, but there's a lot of money being
In Nollywood,
made.
yes,
There's a
because
hell of
I'm
a lot of money
Nigerian.
being played in Nollywood. Being
Yeah,
made in Nollywood.
yeah, of course. No, but I'm talking about it's still, you know, in the sort of the streaming platforms and things like that,
Okay.
where people are creating their own content, and they have their own audience for those things.
Right.
And you know, just I think now people are. If you want to be creative, there is an outlet. There's no like, damn, I wish somebody would like.
You're saying there's no excuse for not being creative
Yeah,
if you really.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Like there's
Okay.
like, well, you know, it's like, well, shoot, you want to do that? Well, shoot it. You know, you have that idea. Okay, we'll create it. You know, get your friends together and put something together. They make these cameras so high end now. Even the phones, they make them so high end now that you can shoot anything. I've shot some stuff on my phone, where people are like, man, that's a legit film. You know,
Right.
and that's just me messing around. You
On
know,
your-
just
on your phone.
on my phone. But it starts at the root.
Okay. So yeah, and I won't keep you long because we want pictures.
Yeah.
So you gentlemen have done, TV like film. So have you ever thought about forgive me if I don't know, being on Broadway? Have you guys thought about that?
Oh,
In
oh,
theater.
forgiven.
Oh,
Oh,
man.
so I was about
to
to
say,
say, are you
yeah.
serious?
Whoa.
Yes, I'm because I'm like,
You're forgiven. You're forgiven for not knowing.
I know, because I haven't been
Get out
able
the line
to
of fire.
I'm like, woo, forgive me.
Whoa.
Okay, because
Look, check them credentials, girl.
I know, forgive me.
For real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've been on.
So when you come back, so I can see you. Since if I'm forgiven.
So I will, even though this was not your question. Yeah, I come from the theater.
Okay.
And honestly, one of the reasons that my film, not right across the board, but one of the reasons that I have a film career, is that Spike Lee saw me in a play on Broadway back in 1988. I would be remiss if I did not. The play is called Joe Turner's Come and Gone by August Wilson, one of the great dramatists, Fences, Two Trains Running. He wrote a cycle. He wrote a 10-play cycle for every decade of the African American experience in America. So the response to your question is I've been on Broadway, but I would, yes,
Would you come back?
yeah, of course. If the situation were right, I absolutely would, because I come from the theater, and I'm always looking for opportunities to return to the theater if and when the situation is right.
I go by Broadway and Fifth, and then what? What? Oh, they got a great Rite Aid right there. No, my Broadway debut, I was an understudy in Joe Turner's.
So we did the play.
Yeah.
How many years apart? I did it in
Wow.
1988 on Broadway.
And I did it in
Same.
2009.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And I went on, because you played,
Harold Loomis.
and I went on as Harold Loomis.
Wow.
Yeah,
Amazing.
because the actor lost his voice and had like halfway through the show and had to go on. And then I did the next three right after. And that changed my life, you know. And then I was almost back on Broadway, but I had to make a decision. Well, it was no decision, but a show I was doing Shakespeare in the Park. I was doing The Merchant of Venice, playing the Prince of Morocco in an Al Pacino production. And they moved it to Broadway, but I couldn't do it because of Mike and Molly. But that would have been my last time. Yeah, my TV commitment. But that would have been my last time. That would have been, yeah. So I'm actually